Very nice to see everybody today. Well, sort of see, but I'm a little distracted. My cat is in my room today, so it's might see him pop in and out every so often. But welcome. And this is a wonderful week. I was glad when temperature kind of went above zero and everything got really melty, because that little cold snap that we got was not the best. But I just wanted to welcome everybody into the circle today. So I am here in Calgary, which is in Treaty 7 territory, also known as Mulkinstis. And Mulkinstis, it was a gathering place. It's where people come together to learn from each other, to grow together, to build community in a meaningful way. And it's always important to start with the land acknowledgement. It's acknowledging the families that have been here for thousands upon thousands of generations. So I acknowledge the Siksika, the Blackfoot from Siksika, Kainai, and Pagani, the Sarsi Dene from Tsutsuna, and the Stoney Nakoda from Morley, which includes Chiniki, Bears Paw, and Wesley First Nations. We're also walking in the footsteps of Métis Region 3, which is why I proudly wear my Métis sash to act as that bridge between Indigenous and non-Indigenous culture. And I think it's really important to understand that when we do the land acknowledgement, it's not just empty words. We have to have that meaning behind it, or it really loses its significance. It's important to understand that we do it to acknowledge the families that have been here for thousands upon thousands of generations. We acknowledge our relationships that we have with those families, and understand the impact that we've had for thousands, generations. The world that we live in now is very different than it was even 200 years ago. And I think when we acknowledge the land, we need to acknowledge that history. We need to learn from that history, learn what not to do, for sure, and to be able to heal together as a community. The only way that we can do that is by learning truth and understanding, the struggles that we continue to go through day in and day out. And so it's very powerful when you do a land acknowledgement and you understand that background, when you understand your relationship to the land, when you understand, how did my family get here? Generations ago was my family here on this land, and to really think back to those steps that led you to the place that you are now, to think about the relationship that we have with the land itself. How do we heal on the land? What brought us even to, Calgary or wherever we live? Did my cat just steal? Oh my God, Loki, no. So he just stole my sweetgrass. Don't do that. That's not for you. Get out of here. Sorry. He really likes sweetgrass. We have cat grass growing in the window, but sweetgrass is his jam. So, sorry, that was really distracting. Oh, and they're fighting in the background. This is awesome. Well, I just wanted to welcome everybody into the circle today. I have a feeling I invited some contrary grandmothers in today when I was setting up my medicines. So this is why everything's a little silly. But I just wanted to welcome everyone into the circle by sharing their Cree welcome song, which traditionally when we sing songs, we sing in rounds of 4 to honor the 4 directions of the medicine wheel. This song we actually sing in rounds of 3, and that's to keep the circle open and welcoming so everyone completes the circle today. Because in a circle, we're all connected. There's no beginning, there's no end, no one is greater or less than anyone else in the circle, just like in the web of life. So it teaches us to honor each other for those differences, because without those differences we wouldn't be here. We need those differences to make our community resilient. We need the people who are engineers or mathematicians or doctors or those caregivers, those teachers. We need everyone in the circle. We need farmers. Everyone has a place in the circle. And when we sing the song, that's that recognition and that remembering about honoring everybody's place in the circle. And also honoring your place in the circle, not comparing yourself to other people, because then that will never work, because you're never going to be that person, just like they're never going to be you. And so it's really about acknowledging everyone has a special place, but we're all deeply connected in that community. And it's really about honoring that everyone has a voice that we bring to the circle. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to agree 100% of the time, but it's when we can come together and find those compromises that's truly what makes our community resilient. And so Miyasin, it honors that. It honors welcoming everybody into the circle. It means it is beautiful. It is beautiful to come together. You are beautiful as part of the circle. I am beautiful as part of the circle. And it's such a gift to be able to share this song. This song is from the Nataha family from Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation. which is in Treaty 6 territory, like me, because I'm from Muskeg Lake. I'm Cree, Anishinaabe, and Métis. But when we honor this song, or when we sing this song, we honor that family for keeping this song alive, because for so long it was illegal for us to speak our languages, for us to share our stories, for us to share our songs. And so the fact that this remains, our language remains, our teachings remain, it shows how resilient a people can be. And it also shows how important this message is, and how important that relationship that we have is, to be able to share and learn and grow together. This is why it's important to share our songs and our stories, because if they stay within us, then they don't make an impact, they don't make a change. And so just to welcome everyone in, I'd like to share that Cree welcome song. Now, Miasin, it doesn't just mean welcome, and it also means beautiful. It is beautiful. I'm going to stand up to sing and take a little sip of my water. And take a look at that troublemaker so he doesn't jump up on me, because he's been chasing my sash today. And so this is Miasin. Miasin, Miasin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epetakote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino, Miasin, Miasin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Hepetakote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino, Miasin, Miasin, Hasemina, Hasemina, Epetakote, Niwagomagan, Hota, Homa, Kitaskino. Hi, and welcome to the circle today, everybody. So earlier this week, I had shared an article that I had written for Arts Commons. They'd asked me to speak about cultural appropriation, especially in this time, because we're a couple days away from Halloween. Woo, Halloween! And I think a lot of the time when we look at Halloween costumes, there's a huge point of contention around cultural costumes and making culture a joke, and that's unacceptable. That's not okay. And I think a lot of people who do wear those costumes, they don't understand the history and the weight that those things carry. And there was a big thing a couple of years ago with a display that a candy shop had done with an Indian brave wearing a a headdress which was made of suckers, and it was just a disrespectful point because they didn't know what the headdress meant and how disrespectful it was to kind of personify that in such a juvenile way, and without understanding, you know, the weight that carries. And to think that for many, many years, we weren't even allowed to practice our culture. We weren't allowed to practice our ceremonies. We weren't allowed to share our songs or our language. It was cultural genocide. That's exactly what it was. We were going through these dark times for so long, and the fact that our teachings still remain and we are still here as Indigenous people, it shows just how resilient we are. But it also shows how far we have to go when we come to seasons like Halloween, when people are wearing really disrespectful costumes, specifically ones that are over-sexualizing Indigenous women and Indigenous girls, because we have a long legacy of murdered or missing Indigenous women. This is why every October 4th is Sisters in Spirit, and we march for those murdered and missing Indigenous women, girls, Two-Spirit people, and all of our family members who have gone and we don't have the answers for. And also Valentine's Day, we march for them as well. That is a very symbolic march, because it's recognizing that when they leave, it takes that piece of our heart with them when they're taken from us. And when our families can't get the justice, it's heart-wrenching, it's heartbreaking, and it's all so visceral when we come to a place where people are making fun of that. You know, they're hypersexualizing Indigenous women and girls, and it brings to a place of you know, a lot of disrespect and a lot of hurt, and it shows that ignorance that is commonplace in a lot of our society. And we need to take those moments not to get mad at people. I think that's really, really important, because if you get angry and you come at somebody with righteousness, that just shuts them down. It shuts down the conversation, and it doesn't give you time to pull it apart, to pick it apart with someone, but also to use those moments as teaching moments. Anytime someone has really, really upset me, I just take a moment and I take a breath, and then I use those moments as teaching moments. I'm like, you know what, let's go have a coffee, or let's have a tea, and let's break down why you think this, and I'm going to show you what the truth is, and then we'll have a conversation afterwards. And oftentimes when you do that in a gentle way, when you do it in a good way, it changes people's perspective. And I think that's truly what we need, especially now. We can't heal together as a society if only half the society is along for the ride. We need to do it all together. And the way to do that is through understanding, empathy, education. That's what reconciliation should be. A lot of times people put this like big blanket term, reconciliation, and a lot of people have gotten sick of the term and do... A lot of Indigenous people especially do not like the term anymore, because it's gotten it's got thrown into our court like it's our responsibility, and it's not. It's everyone's responsibility. It's the government's responsibility. They put those 94 calls to action in place. They have to put their money where their mouth is. The government has to lead by example. That's the whole point of being a leader in your community, a leader for your country, is to step into that role and be that mentor, be that person that everyone else needs to emulate. And when you see scandals or people talking so juvenile and attacking each other, and this division and divisiveness in politics, it is very disheartening, because that's not how I want to see myself. That's not how I want to see my children. And so we need to dial it back and say, what do I want to see? If I see something that upsets me, if I was wearing something that upset someone, would I want them to come at me with anger, or come at me and teach me? Use that as a teachable moment, going, oh, well, were you aware that this is from this culture, and this is what's happened to this culture for thousands of years, and this is why it's inappropriate to wear what you're wearing? I would prefer that conversation rather than, you're a racist, because that is unacceptable. That doesn't make change. That causes more conflict, and it causes more ripples. So the question is, what kind of a ripple do you want to make in the pond? Do you want to ripple out, you know, that love and that compassion and that teaching ability and the ability to change thoughts and hearts and minds? Or are you going to just, you know, drill in that angry stereotype that all so often we see? And I think it's really important that we really have to take a breath, especially this time of year, and help each other. Help each other on that path. Help the people who maybe haven't had those conversations, don't have that ability to have friends that are enlightened, who have experienced these things firsthand, and can offer insight to change someone's mind. And so really be cognizant of that. And I know sometimes I've had awkward conversations with parents because of what their children are wearing. And yeah, I know, it's awkward, it's weird, but if you do it in a gentle way and not an accusatory way, it does help. It does create those changes. And if you share your story of how this has affected you, or how this has affected other families, you know, it's really amazing to see people's hearts and minds change. And so, that being said, I wanted to share, I think the bear song. The bear song is really about community. It's about honoring all of those pieces of our community, but also knowing, everyone has a place and everybody has the ability to learn. Where I was taught that all of the animals and the plants have different lessons for us, have different teachings for us. And the bear is that of community. It's really about building community, and the bear doesn't take anything personally. It's the bear. Unless you get between a mama cub or a mama and her cubs, that the mama will definitely take personally. But once you're out of the picture, she doesn't go chasing you down. She doesn't hold a grudge. If she sees you later on in the season and you're not blocking her cubs, she does not care as long as you are not close to her babies. So it's really a gift to be able to share this song, and it fills me with so much joy to be able to share this song. So I had heard it several times. So I'd heard it when I started kind of coming back to revisit my teachings after I'd left Edmonton, after I'd left a really hard relationship, and started to really reclaim myself again as an Indigenous woman, reclaim my teachings and my culture, my songs and my stories again. And then I started going to ceremony again, which was such a blessing. And so I'd heard this from Carrie Moore. It was like this coming home when I heard this. And same with Marion. And then I went to my reserve and I started hearing it there. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm home. I'm coming home into my teachings. And I'm very blessed that I can wear my regalia. The first time I made a ribbon skirt, yes, it was a little tight, and I still wear it. Even though I have to shuffle my feet in it because it is a little tight. It was this empowering moment to really reclaim my culture and put out my identity in my regalia, because that's what it is. It's our identity. It's everything that I am, everything, that I want to share with the world, everything that I'm so proud of in my family and in my teachings. Whenever I make a ribbon skirt, that's what it is. Whenever I'm gifted, jewelry, or they always have some sort of significance, or even sometimes when I go to Musquechies and I'm drawn to certain places and I find, those pieces, those earrings, like for example, they've got the bear on them. I'm going to share this because they're awesome, which is probably why I'm inspired to sing the bear song today. But it's got a cute little bear, and it's pink, and it's beautiful, and it reminds me of Valentine's Day because of the pink and the red in it. And it just reminds me that you never know when you're going to find those gifts that are meant for you. And you just have to trust your intuition and listen to your intuition, because it always pulls you where you need to be. And the bear is all about instinct. The bear knows that it can only be the bear. It can't be a fish, because that would be silly. It can't be a bird, because, gravity works. But it can only be the best bear it can be. The bear knows instinctively what to eat and when to eat it. If it's not eating a particular type of berry one year, you'll know to avoid those berries because they need time to grow back. The bear teaches us that. If it's, eating mostly moose one year and it's avoiding the elk and the deer, you know that those elk and the deer need a year to recover. And so you'll avoid, hunting those deer. And it's really unfortunate that we don't have that way of looking at things when we give out hunting tickets. Or tags, sorry, not tickets, tags, because those animals, they go through ebbs and flows, right? So sometimes the population is higher of this particular animal or this animal. And I think we need to be able to watch and observe and really take count of those numbers before we give out those tags, so that those populations do have the ability to replenish themselves. They're doing a lot better now than they were even a decade ago, but still. The bear knows. The bear always knows. And the bear also knows if there's something hurting the environment. So out west with the pine beetles, the bears are chewing and clawing and ripping the pine beetles off the trees, trying to protect the trees, trying to slow their progress. They're eating so many of these beetles that they're actually being found with sores inside their mouths because the beetles are causing so much damage to the trees. They do the same thing with the enzymes to the bear. And they're got pincers, and it's just a bad time for the bear, but they do it anyway because the bear are trying to teach us, these guys do not belong here, get rid of them. But even in, I think it was Williams Lake, I might be wrong, it might not have been Williams Lake, but there was one year, and the bear just stopped eating the fish, completely stopped eating the fish. And the First Nations people who watched the bear were like, uh-oh, don't eat the fish. The bear's not eating the fish, so don't touch the fish. And it's a little bit of a tourist town, and so people go there to fish. So you'd assume they would eat the fish. So First Nations people were like, no, don't eat the fish this year. There's something wrong. The bear's not touching them. Don't eat the fish. But of course, everybody's like, oh no, I'm sure it'll be fine, because nobody pays attention, right? And let's just say they had a pretty miserable vacation that year. Everybody had a lot of tummy troubles. And when they brought in scientists to figure out if it was the water that was making everyone sick, which it wasn't, they finally tested the fish, as the First Nations people had advised. And they found a microorganism in the fish that was making everybody sick. So the bear knew it. They didn't touch the fish. The First Nations people who watched the bear knew it. They didn't touch the fish. But nobody else got the memo and had a pretty miserable summer. So that being said, I think it's really important that we acknowledge and understand that. When even here in Alberta, in Banff, it was almost a decade ago now, but there was a whole bunch of hungry wolves that were just dropped off from our lovely American friends and just plunked in the middle of Banff National Park thinking, well, you know, there's a lot of space for them. There's a lot of food for them. I'm sure it'll be fine. So they just completely displaced this huge, I think there was like 60 or 70 wolves, just plunked them down into Banff National Park and were like, bye. Like, thanks, Americans. But the wolves started to impact those populations. So it brought down the population of the deer and the elk and the moose and the bighorn sheep and all of those game animals. And the bear would normally hunt those on occasion, but they watched as the wolves were devastating the populations. And the bear knew that they had to do something. And so they stepped up and they started to eat the wolves. But surprisingly enough, they only ate the wolves that didn't belong there. So by doing that, they were sustaining themselves and they were protecting those other animals for seasons to come. And so they remind us in our own lives that sometimes we have to make those hard decisions. Sometimes, you know, I always say tell my kids, you know, be like the bear, do your chores, you know, do your part for the community, and only take what you need, because the bear only takes what it needs and never takes more than its share. It always leaves something behind, and it always makes sure that it's, you know, looking out for everything, not just itself, but everything around it. Because if you take more than your share, somebody else isn't going to have something. And the bear knows that. The bear taught us that. The bear also teaches us how to get ready for seasons. So I'm actually disappointed I didn't get to go up to Kananaskis. Usually I go hiking in Kananaskis at the end of September, so I'm able to see the bear and know what kind of winter it's going to be. But I just didn't have time this year. A few years ago, though, the bear was crazy fat. When I saw him, he was so fat. And I looked at my friend and I was like, it's going to be a cold winter this year. We're going to get a lot of snow. And my friend's like, this is Calgary. We get Chinooks all the time and it'll be fine. And sure enough, it was one of the consistently cold winters on record in Calgary. So the bear was right. So I always like to get advice from the bear on how the winter is going to be. So I'm not sure if anybody saw the bear this year, but let me know. And so when I sing this song, it's really about honoring that bear spirit in each and every one of us. And it's the strength to stand up for what's right. And it's the courage to be ourselves. So it's really about honoring community in a meaningful way. And so I'm going to grab that beautiful drum. Oh, I'm so sad. So on Saturday is the last day to bid on that drum. So this Halloween, right now the drum is up to 500. And I will show it off because it's just stunning and it sounds amazing. And I'm starting to fall in love with it because I have been playing it, but it sounds incredible. And it just feels beautiful. So it feels so comfortable in your hand. And then of course that just gorgeous, gorgeous design from Sam Beggedy. And yeah, so this drum could be yours if you decide to bid on it. And again, taking bids until Halloween at midnight. So, and you can either put it in the comments, or I'm going to share a picture of it. You can put it in the comments there. But it's just beautiful. And so this is the Anishinaabe Bear Song. And I always rub the drum in a circle 4 times just to warm it up before anything. Here we go. Manitumakwa, hey Anishinaabe. Wea awaya, awaya, yawela weyo. Wea awaya, awaya, yawela weyo. Manitumakwa, kaminana se. Manitumakwa, hey Anishinaabe. Wea awaya, awaya, yawela weyo. Wea awaya, awaya, yawela weyo. Manitumakwa, kaminana se. Manitumakwa, hey Anishinaabe. So back to the topic of appropriation versus appreciation. I had a friend come to me because she was doing an event and she wanted to represent Canada in her like outfit, in her costume. She came to me and she said, can I wear an Indigenous costume? And I said, we don't have costumes. And she said, well, what about the skirts that you wear? And I'm like, that's not a costume, that's regalia. Because costumes are for Halloween. This Halloween I'm being Starfire. I have been sewing like a mad woman. It's going to be great, hopefully. If not, I'll just, wear a bag and call it that. But I was explaining that regalia is a part of us. And so every piece of regalia, it has a story, it has a significance. When we look at our traditional dancers, we have the fancy dance. The women's fancy dance has a specific story. The men's fancy dance has a specific story. The jingle dance has a story. And so when we look at that regalia, it's so intentional with all of the work that we put into it. Even when it comes to the colors of the regalia, they're very, very significant and important as well. A lot of my regalia, I'll have rainbows on, but every single piece that I have will usually, like all my ribbon skirts will have blue in them, and blue represents my boys. And now that I have girls, I've been putting a lot more reds as well as like the pink or the purple, but blue also represents the girls. And so it represents that the depth of spirit that they all have together. It represents, that connection to water that I have for them, because that's my heart medicine that I pour into them. And it's really about expressing who I am in the teachings that I'm sharing. I have a skirt specifically for when I'm sharing medicine wheel teachings that has the red, the white, the yellow, and the blue to represent, all four of those directions. And each skirt has that significance to it. Even the skirt that I had, the first skirt that I ever owned, I'd actually bought as a gift to myself. And it does have those rainbow colors in it a little bit, but it also has 2 shades of pink because it reminds me about reclaiming who I am. And that seems to be that color, that powerful color that I have always used throughout my life. Anytime I need those changes, it seems like pink is just that color that resonates with me for my healing, because it's really about unconditional love, and that's what pink is. And so it's just a blessing to be able to create those things for myself, be able to share those teachings behind them. And so when I was explaining all of the depth to this regalia, and she's like, well, I need to represent Canada. How do I represent Canada? And I'm like, well, how many generations are you Canadian? And she's like, well, 2, well, technically 3, because she's the 3rd. And I was like, well, what does Canada mean to you? And we started really kind of digging into where she was from and what brought her family here and how thankful she was to be here, and how we can do like an amalgamation of her identity in her regalia. I encourage her to make regalia for herself, using her own teachings and her own community and her own culture, but also putting that Canadian flair on it, which, we're not talking like maple syrup or anything like that. Don't drench yourself in maple syrup. That'd be super sticky and gross. But, that hope of what has changed her culture by being here. Is it more open? Is it more light? Is it more safe? And so she was able to create something that really embodied her. And she asked specifically to speak about the regalia that she had made and why it was Canadian. I think a lot of the time when we look at Canadian culture or American culture, Americans, it's like America, so they like, you know, jeans and, you know, American flag stuff everywhere, but that's not culture. That's like a melting pot, and that's something that's imposed. Whereas here we have so much ability to just appreciate the beauty in everyone's culture that has brought them here to this place that we can share. It's really about acknowledging the culture that's already been here and not taking it for your own, but appreciating it and letting the people who have, you know, lived that culture, who've lived that life, who are reclaiming who they are as Indigenous people, allowing them the ability to do that in a safe space. And that's kind of the difference between appreciation and appropriation. Appropriation is you're making money off the oppression of others, whereas appreciation is you understand the struggles that they've gone through and you're there to support, but you're not there to do it for them, which is so important. This is why I have a big issue with things that are like, you know, look at Indigenous art made in China. No, don't buy that stuff. Because we make choices with what we buy. If you go and you buy a dream catcher kit at the dollar store, but you don't have the teachings behind making a dream catcher, that's a problem. If you go to make a rattle with, you know, things that you've seen online, but you don't understand the teachings and the depth behind that item, or even a drum. This is why it's so important to understand and share the teachings behind the drum when I make a drum, and when I teach people how to make drums, because there are so many stories. This isn't just an item, it's a tool, it's part of us. You know, it's an extension of who we are. And even when we make our first item, whether it be our dream catcher or a drum, a rattle, or whatever, we always pass it forward, because that's our piece of us that we've just created, and we can pass it on to the next person. And it's really to create that energy exchange and know that that energy is going to come back to us. It's about letting things go and then letting things come back when they're ready. So yeah, there's that. But I think it's really important that when we think about culture, we need to not put it with like the same brush, especially when we talk about Indigenous culture, because there's so many different teachings, there's so many different stories, so many different songs, so many different dialects. Even like Cree up north is totally different than Cree from down south where I'm from. It's just we talk different, we sound different, we have different teachings, and even though we're all Cree, we have different ways of looking and appreciating the world through just different lenses, and that's really important to understand. And so no generic Indigenous costumes, because there shouldn't ever be one, because it's really about expressing your identity, expressing, you know, that history and that past, and then moving forward. So that being said, I'm actually going to smudge. And when we smudge, there's no right or wrong way to smudge. I'm gonna put this very carefully down. It's whatever feels good to you. And so I always take off my jewelry, so that anything that I'm carrying I can get rid of, because metal holds energy and I don't want to hold any of that energy. When I was talking about how everybody's culture is a little bit different, sorry, my phone's going off. I forgot to shut off the ringer. But there's no right or wrong way to smudge. It's whatever feels good to you. When I lay out my medicines, I lay them out in the east. I have Sweetgrass, which is our mind. In the south, I have cedar, which is our physical body. In the west, I have sage, which is our heart medicine. And then in the north, I have tobacco, which is, of course, our spirit medicine. And we break it down by the elements. And like I said, these are just my teachings. So if something resonates with you, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay too. This is why we have oral traditions and oral storytelling. Whatever's meant for us, we'll remember. Whatever's not, won't take up space in our brain. We'll be okay. There won't be a test. Sorry, I was coughing a lot today because I got, you know, when you are eating toast and you inhale and you get toast stuck in your throat and then it just doesn't go away for the whole day. It was not a pleasant morning. Okay, so I'm only smudging with sage today, sage being the women's medicine. When I share my teachings, these are Cree teachings, OG Cree teachings, and there's other Cree nations that have different teachings, and that's okay. Just like this is why it's so important to talk to different elders, different knowledge keepers, whether it be from different Cree nations or Blackfoot or Anishinaabe or Métis or Stoney or Sarsi or Dene. Everyone has beautiful, beautiful stories and beautiful teachings, and it's really about what resonates with you. What can you carry forward and what can you use in your own life? Now, can you sell to other people, but how are you going to be using these teachings in a good way for yourself to find your path, to be able to heal, to be able to move forward, and to be able to serve your community in a good way? And that's all what it's about. One of the reasons, or one of the teachings that I have around sage versus sweetgrass, because if you're in a Blackfoot ceremony, chances are they're burning sweetgrass, and it smells a little different. It smells really good. I love sweetgrass, but I love sage too. But the reason that they burn sweetgrass is that's one of their traditional medicines. Now, in Cree, we consider sweetgrass the men's medicine, and so do they in Blackfoot. And then in the West, which is the women's medicine, that's sage. And sage is universal. So sage is connected to water, which is why it flows. And so whenever you're in a circle and you're smudging with sage, oftentimes it'll go from person to person to person. Whereas sweetgrass, it's connected to fire. And you don't want to pass fire around because you're going to start a problem. So you always keep it in one spot. So oftentimes if you're in a Blackfoot ceremony, it'll be in one place. And so it's stationary, but you smudge from where you are. And that smell just fills the room, which is just absolutely incredible. It's such a beautiful smell. And it's just a different way of doing ceremony. Everybody has different ways of doing things. And it's not right or wrong. It's just different. And so that being said, I'm going to smudge with sage today. Do a quick smudge. Oops. I also have this beautiful mushroom, which I haven't smudged with yet. I'm sure when the time is right, I will, though. When it's meant to be, it'll happen. All right. I have matches. Again, if you don't have matches, you only have a lighter, try and light your sage stem and then light your sage. But just so it stays a little bit natural. Awesome. So as I light it, I'm going to make sure that I'm fanning it with my hand. We never blow on it because our breath is our life and our life is precious and we don't waste that for anybody. I'm going to bring it this way. So even though I'm only using sage, I always lay out all my medicines because I want to honor the balance of all of those medicines and how they work together. Just like we have a balance within ourselves, we have our mind, our heart, our physical body, and then our spirit that kind of fuels the whole thing. There's a spider in my room. We have, our physical body is connected to the self because that's how we stay grounded. That's where we see the most physical changes. And then our spirit is connected to the air because you can't see spirit, but you know it's there. Just like you can't see the air, but you breathe, so you know it exists. And you can see it in the winter when you are exhaling. But yeah, so when we smudge, it's about inviting in balance. So the first thing I do is I clean my hands. So anything that I'm carrying, I get rid of. And then I bring it over my body 4 times. Honor the 4 directions in my body. I smudge my mind so I can think clearly and learn from every person that crosses my path. So I can remain open-minded and never ever rigid with my thinking. I smudge my ears so I can be open to hear all of the messages that Creator sends me. So I can hear all of the beautiful teachings and voices of all of the plants and animals and people around me. But also so I can listen twice as much as I speak. This is why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I smudge my eyes so that my vision is clear. I'm very thankful for my vision this lifetime. So I can see all of the beauty that surrounds me and really appreciate the light that surrounds my everyday life. I smudge my nose so I smell danger and cookies. I smudge my mouth so I speak only true and kind words that are helpful. I say, is it truthful? Is it helpful? Is it kind? Is it respectful? If it's none of those things, don't say it, don't do it. I'm also very thankful that I can express myself in a meaningful way. I smudge my throat because I'm very thankful for my voice this lifetime, because I give voice to the voiceless as an activist, but also because I'm very thankful for my singing voice. My voice has been cracking like crazy. I don't know what's going on with it. Smudge my lungs so I breathe good, clean air. No more toast crumbs. But also to help heal my asthma. and to remind myself of the sacred breath that I share. I'm going to smudge my heart so I can remember to be kind and compassionate and show unconditional love to all those people that cross my path, to my family, to my friends, and also to myself. Sometimes we're the hardest on ourselves than anyone else. And again, it's about recognizing, it's not about comparing ourselves to others. It's about acknowledging the beauty that's within ourselves. But not be pretentious about it. It's all about being humble. I smudge my stomach, so all of the food that I eat this day will nourish my body. I smudge my womanhood, because I'm very thankful to be a woman and a mother in this time. I smudge my shoulders and my back, so I can carry all of the responsibilities that Creator has gifted me with grace and humility. I smudge my arms and my hands, so I can continue to do the good work that Creator's put me here to do. I'm very thankful for my hands as an artist. I smudge my legs, so I can walk this red road in a good way. I smudge my feet, so I stay grounded and connected to Mother Earth, treading lightly upon her, honoring her with every step. And then if there's anywhere else in your body you need a little extra love, so my mid-back is just really sore today, and one side of my neck. So, and then of course my hips, because they always need a little extra healing from all of the surgeries that I've had. But I'm walking, and I'm thankful for that. And then if there's anyone in your life that you want to send that love and appreciation to, maybe they're having a hard time, you want to send that healing to them, you just hold them in your heart, and you smudge. And you send that to them. Maybe you're having a disagreement with someone, or maybe they're just in your thoughts. And just sending that good intention to them. And then when you're done, you say hi, or merci, or miigwech, or gracia, or de nada, or however you say thank you in your language. I think de nada is actually you're welcome. So. Awesome. So, that being said, I'm going to throw my earrings back on, and I'm going to share another song. I was thinking a lot about sacred breath, so I think I'm going to share the Creator song. And so, a story that I know about the sacred breath is that, you know, when the world was created, the whole Big Bang, it was a breath. It was Creator breathing out into the universe. You know, all of creation just expanding all around us. And so when we look in between the stars and we see those great, you know, voids of nothingness, it's not nothing. It's space, it's breath, it's that air that we all share. So when we breathe in and out, it reminds us of the sacredness that we are, because we have that gift of breath, we have that gift of life. Same with all of the plants. The plants breathe. They clean the air for us to breathe. And so not only are they breathing in, those toxins they're breathing out, the stuff that we can actually use. And same with the animals. The animals, they breathe in and out. And when we look at things like, you know, the dusts and the rocks and the stones and everything has that sacred breath within it. It's just sometimes their breath is a little slower than ours, but it doesn't make it any less significant. And so when I share this song, it's a Creator song. It's about acknowledging, you know, creation all around us. It's about acknowledging the relationships that we have to the plants and the animals and the stones, to the stories that they have to share with us, to that breath that we share with them, and really to understand that we're breathing the same air that dinosaurs had, you know, and that our ancestors had. And think about, you know, where we were, or where, you know, our world was even a couple hundred years ago. And it's not the same, even though the breath is the same. And the way that we interpret the world, I think, is a little bit different. And it's really about dialing it back and understanding that sacred breath that we all share. And so it's about appreciation, appreciation of our own lives, appreciation of the lives of others around us, those plants, those animals, but the sacredness of all life, and how everything is interconnected. So there's that spider again. Sorry. So this is the Creator song, and this song is very special to me. It was shared from my friend Elizabeth. And she had, I'd sang on her album, and this was her gift to me. So for her singing, she shared this song with me. And then it came full circle because I was singing it to my great aunt, and she started singing along. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know this song? And she's like, yeah, it's been in our family for a long time. Where did you hear it? And so it's amazing how those things just come full circle. Because it, when she was singing with me, there was something really powerful and humbling. And it was just such a beautiful gift to be able to bring that song home. And so when I share it, it's about coming home. You know, it's about honoring all sacredness, all life, and how we're all interconnected, and how we're all a family. All our relations, all my relations, everyone is related. And this song really reminds us of that. And so, all my relations. This is the Creator song. Espeme kotawino, gize kotawino, weo heyo haweyo, 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 weo heyo haweyo. Espeme kotawino, gize kotawino, weo heyo haweyo, 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 weo heyo haweyo. Gize kotawino, eskeme kotawino, weo heyo haweyo, 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 weo heyo haweyo. Espeme kotawino, gize kotawino, weo heyo haweyo, 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 weo heyo tawino. To which, so I spoke a lot about identity, and this song, this is from Ulali, the song that I'm about to share, and it's weird to sing it without people, so it's really beautiful when we can like put in the harmonies and when there's like this whole voice behind us. But it's called Makchi. It's about honoring who you are and where you've come from and the blood that runs through your veins and your ancestors. But really, you know, owning anything that you've gone through and taking that on as your own healing. So we have a choice whether we want to wear our trauma, you know, like armor, or whether we want to wear it as, you know, it's a sign of what we've risen above. So you have a choice. You can either continue to re-victimize yourself with trauma, or you can rise above it and say, this is what's made me strong. This is what's made me who I am. And I refuse to, you know, bow down and give anybody else my power. I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to do it in a healthy and good way. But that's what this song really, when I first learned it, that's really what it inspired in me. It I knew all of this trauma that I was carrying with me and all of this hurt and all of this pain that I was carrying with me. And I was able to break a lot of those cycles of abuse that I had experienced as a child, so that I could be a good mom for my kids, and so that they never had to experience that. But I was also carrying a lot of that hurt and that shame, and that guilt for being who I was. And because of that, I had let myself go get into really abusive relationships, and I had a lot of healing to do from that, and I had a lot of self-love to do to make sure that I never re-entered those kind of really traumatic and hard relationships. And so this song really was about that beauty that, yes, we go through some hurt and hurtful times and pain and sadness and trauma, but we don't have to wear it. It doesn't have to pull us down. We can rise above it, and it can make us into the beautiful people that we are. And so this is Makchi, and it's really about honoring, that life that you have, who you are, and honoring the beautiful gifts that you have to share, and the blood that runs through your veins. Because I'm very, very thankful to be Cree and to be Anishinaabe and to be Métis. It's more than my identity. It's my spirit, and this calls my spirit home. Even though it's not from my nation, it's still a beautiful song. And so Ulali does it incredibly, because they have all of these different textures in their voice. I need a choir. I've actually done it with a couple of choirs, and it's stunning, it's beautiful. But this is Makchi. It's a very downplayed version of Makchi. Makchi tambui on pigiri, Makchi tambui conspewabi, Makchi tambui on pigiri, Makchi tambui conspewabi mopewa, Okahimo, Dahon tai kai tai, Kiweme itai. Kaya muni, hey, what you say? Kaya muni, hey, what you say? We are, 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 we are. We are, we are, we are, we are, we are, we are. Makchi tambui on pigiri, Makchi tambui conspewabi, Makchi tambui on pigiri, Makchi tambui conspewabi mopewa, Okahimo. Dahon tai kai tai, Kiweme hitai. Nankaya muni, what you say? Nankaya muni, what you say? yo way ya machi tambu ya pigiri machi tambu comes me way machi tambu ya pigiri machi tambu comes me way be mo be wa hoka yimon ta hon tai kai tai giwe me itai nankaya ya muni hey what you say nankaya ya muni hey what you say nankaya ya muni hey what you say nankaya ya muni hey what you say. Such a pretty song. So I did all 3-part harmonies in individual verses. Maybe if I layer that puppy together, it'd be awesome. I just got a looping board. I'm going to see if I can play with it over the next week, and maybe I'll come up with something fun. It could be cool. Wow, that went fast. So I wanted to share just a traveling song. I know that a lot of people are kind of hesitant about going trick-or-treating or just the path that they're on now. I think a lot of us are on really uneven and on shaky ground. And so when I share this traveling song, it's really about honoring the path that you're on now and knowing that just stay sure-footed and don't doubt where you are, because everything happens for a reason. It's just really to honor and appreciate those steps that we're taking, to know that our ancestors are behind us, walking with us, and it's such a beautiful gift to be able to do that. But I know that with my kids, they were like, oh, I think we're getting too old to trick-or-treat. I'm like, you are never too old to trick-or-treat. Free candy is free candy. So I actually went trick-or-treating when I was super pregnant with my first son. I was 18 at the time. Really, really pregnant, super, super round. And I went as a pink rabbit because, you know, a pink bunny who's super pregnant, super awesome. And so all the kids are wearing masks. We are incorporating them into their costumes. All of the kids are wearing gloves, which we are also incorporating into their costumes. So it's really about just being creative, being safe, but also being joyful. Know that this is a time when we need to be joyful. We need to be able to share. We need to be able to build community, and we can get through this together. And oh, hi Carol. But I'm just very thankful and that everybody joined me this week. Hopefully you can kind of share that message. I'll share that article as well that I wrote about Halloween costumes and cultural costumes being inappropriate and why. So please feel free to share it in any of your circles. It is on the Arts Commons blog. So yeah, please do share, because I think it's an important message. And I think in terms of, you know, those little tips on how we can talk to people, every little bit helps. And, you know, we can change hearts and minds one person at a time, and eventually the whole world will be changed. And so just to welcome, or say goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful week. This is the traveling song. Oh, I have a laughing song in my head. Here we go. And I thank Yolanda for this song, for reminding me of this song, as well as Ashley for reminding me of this song. And I thank my elder Sharon, because I always hear her singing behind me when I sing this song. Hey, Way ah hey ah hey ho. 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 Way ah ho. Hi, Chimagwitch everybody. Again, I'm going to be reposting this beautiful, beautiful drum. I don't know if I can get it a little closer. But yeah, so this weekend's going to be your last opportunity to get it. I'm going to miss it because I just love the sound and how it feels, but it's time to find a new home. And so again, it's up to $500. I will post it on my wall again and share away. And yeah, have a wonderful, wonderful Halloween, a wonderful daylight savings. I know I always get a little funky when the time changes, but we're springing ahead, so you get to sleep in, so that's a good thing, right? But hi everybody, Chimagwitch, and have a beautiful, wonderful week. I will see you next Tuesday as per usual. Also, there's a bunch of events coming up next week. There is a CPAWS event, which I will be doing the Land Acknowledgement for, and there's also National Storytelling Day next weekend, but I'll give you more details next week. So hi everybody, thank you so much, and we will see you all again soon. Where's my mouse? Oh, there's my mouse. Okay, hi, thanks everyone, bye. Chimagwitch.